Imagine a young man's life is in your hands. And what if you are the only person in a room of 12 who wasn't totally sure he was guilty? Well, today we're diving into the classic play, 12 Angry Men. It's an incredible story about justice, doubt, and what it means to have the courage to stand alone.
So, the play kicks off with these super serious words from a judge. He's laying out the scene for us. A young man is on trial for killing his father. I mean, the stakes just couldn't be any higher. But it's that last part, that final instruction that really drives the whole story. The verdict has to be unanimous.
So what does unanimous even mean? It means everybody. All 12 of these guys have to agree 100%. This isn't a situation where the majority wins. Nope. If even one single person disagrees, there's no verdict. Every single juror has to be completely convinced. And this question, this is the absolute heart of the play. I mean, it's easy to just go with the flow, right? To agree with everyone else. But what would you do if a man's life was on the line and you were the only one in that room with that little nagging feeling of doubt? So, this brings us into the jury room. It's hot, it's stuffy, and these 12 men have been sent in there to decide this kid's fate. Let's see what happens when they take that first, really crucial vote. Now, most of these jurors, they walk in thinking this is going to be a piece of cake, quick and easy. Based on what they heard in court, the evidence seemed totally overwhelming. They're convinced the kid is guilty, and honestly, they're ready to just get it over with and go home.
The guy in charge, the foreman, suggests they just take a quick vote to see where everyone's at. And boom, one by one, hands shoot up for guilty. The count just climbs and climbs all the way to 11. But the count stops right there at 11, because one man, just one, has voted not guilty. And with that single vote, what was supposed to be a quick decision suddenly turns into this intense, dramatic battle of wills.
And this is where we meet our two main players, the guys who are gonna go head-to-head. On one side, you've got juror #3. He's the loudest, most aggressive voice screaming guilty. He's a bulldozer of a man, and he's got his own personal baggage fueling his anger. And on the other side, we have juror #8. He's the guy who cast that one not guilty vote. He's calm, he's reasonable, and he just wants to make absolutely sure before they send a kid to die. So why'd he do it? Why was he the only one? Well, this line right here, it explains everything. Juror 8 isn't saying the boy is innocent. He's just saying he isn't sure. He's saying he has a reasonable doubt. He just believes that for something this serious, they owe it to the boy and to themselves to at least talk about it first. And talking about it is exactly what he makes them do. This is where juror #8 starts to carefully, methodically, take apart the evidence that everyone else thought was so solid. He starts questioning the so-called facts.
So, juror #8 decides to go through the prosecution's big points one by one. He really focuses on three things: the murder weapon, which was supposed to be unique, the story told by an old man who was a witness, and the testimony from a woman who said she saw the whole thing happen. Okay, first up, the knife. The prosecutor made a huge deal about how this was a very unusual, one-of-a-kind knife. But then, in this jaw-dropping moment, juror #8 reaches into his own pocket, pulls out an identical knife, and slams it right into the table. Turns out he bought it just a few blocks from the kid's house. So much for one of a kind. All right, next, they go over what the old man who lived downstairs said. He swore on the stand that he heard a fight, then heard a body fall, and then he was at his front door in just 15 seconds, in time to see the kid running away. Sounds pretty damning, right? But juror #8 brings up a really simple logical point. He asks the other jurors to just think back to seeing the old man in court. The guy was frail, he had a limp, he needed 2 canes just to walk. So the question is it even physically possible for him to have gotten from his bed to his front door in only 15 seconds?
And he doesn't just ask the question, he proves it. Right there in the jury room, he measures out the dimensions of the man's apartment and he reenacts the walk himself. And the result? It takes him 39 seconds. That's more than double the time the witness swore it took him. Suddenly, the old man's whole story just falls apart. So, as juror #8 keeps pointing out these logical problems, these doubts, you can just feel the whole atmosphere in the room start to change. All that certainty everyone walked in with, it's starting to crack. The tide is definitely turning. Right after he shows that the old man's timing was impossible, another juror, juror #9, an older man himself, he changes his vote. He says he respects juror 8's courage and now he has doubts too. So just like that, the vote is now 10-2. And from there, the dominoes just keep falling. More arguments, more inconsistencies get exposed. And with each new doubt, another juror flips their vote. Pretty soon, the whole thing is deadlocked. 6 votes for guilty, 6 for not guilty. The room is now completely and pretty angrily divided. And this brings us back to that huge legal idea, reasonable doubt. Juror Hackscake 8 reminds them all, hey, listen, we don't have to prove the boy is innocent. All they need is one real logical reason to be uncertain based on the evidence. If they have that, if they have any reasonable doubt, their job, their duty, is to vote not guilty. The pressure in that room just keeps getting more and more intense. It all builds up to this one explosive moment, a climax that will finally decide the boy's fate. Let's take a look at how this final verdict comes together. Juror Hashtag 3, our main antagonist, he feels the whole case slipping away and he just loses it. His personal anger completely boils over, and in this fit of pure rage, he actually lunges at Juror Hashtag 8, screaming that he's going to kill him. Juror Hashtag 8's response is so calm and it's absolutely devastating. He just looks at him and asks this simple question. See, a key piece of evidence was that the defendant had yelled, "I'm going to kill you," at his father earlier. And right here, in his own rage, Juror Hashtag 3 has just proved Juror Hashtag 8's point for him, that people say things they don't mean all the time when they're angry. After that, there's this one last piece of evidence they look at, about the female witness's eyesight. And that creates even more doubt. The last few jurors change their votes, and the final verdict is unanimous. Not guilty. All because one man had the courage to stop and ask questions. In the end, 12 Angry Men isn't just a courtroom drama, it's a story about our own responsibilities, and it leaves all of us with a really powerful question to think about. When is it important for you to stand alone, ask the hard questions, and fight for what you believe is right?